My wife's childhood friend moved back to town and started spending more time with us. I thought nothing of it until I overheard a late-night call. If you tell him, I'll tell everyone your secret. My blood ran cold. That night, I confronted her. Tears filled her eyes. He knows something about me. He said if I don't stay with him, he'll destroy my life. My heart pounded. You're not alone in this. The next day, I met him at a cafe. He smiled. Here to beg me to stop? I leaned in and whispered, no. I'm here to show you what happens when you blackmail the wrong people. His face turned pale as I pulled out my laptop. I've been married to my wife, Sarah, for 12 years. We live in Chicago, on the north side, near Lincoln Park. We don't have kids, just us and our dog. Life's been steady. We're both in our early 40s. I work in logistics, she's in education. Nothing flashy, but we've had a pretty decent life together. We go to the movies, take weekend trips when we can, grill on the balcony in the summer. I thought everything was okay. Boring even, in a good way. A few months ago, she told me that an old friend of hers from childhood was moving to Chicago. His name is Alex. She talked about him like he was her brother or something. They apparently grew up together in Indiana, lost touch a bit during college, but stayed connected off and on through social media. At first, I didn't think much of it. She seemed excited. He moved here for a job, something in sales. I figured, hey, people need friends in a new city. No big deal. She invited him over for dinner one night. He was fine, friendly, charming, a little too smooth if I'm being honest. But he didn't give off any obvious red flags. Then he started coming around more. A lot more. At first it was just once a week. Then it turned into 2 or 3 times. Sometimes he'd just happen to be in the neighborhood and swing by. Or he'd be passing through and ask if we wanted to grab dinner. Sarah always seemed so happy when he was around, laughing louder than usual, smiling more. Still, I didn't want to be the jealous husband. I trusted her. They were childhood friends, right? But then the little things started adding up. I'd come home and find the two of them sitting a little too close on the couch. She put her phone face down when I walked into the room. Once, I noticed her texting late at night, and when I asked who it was, she just said, work stuff, and changed the subject. Then one night, I couldn't sleep. It was around 1:30 a.m. I got up to get a drink from the kitchen. I passed by the living room and heard her voice. I paused. She didn't see me. She was sitting in the dark, phone to her ear, whispering. I didn't catch the start of the call, but I'll never forget what she said. If you tell him, I'll tell everyone your secret. My body froze. She said it in this low, almost panicked voice. She wasn't mad. She was scared. There was a long pause. Then she said, you promised. You said you wouldn't. Please, Alex, don't do this. I quietly backed away before she noticed me. I didn't sleep at all that night. I lay there staring at the ceiling while she climbed back into bed like nothing happened. The next day, I couldn't focus at work. I kept replaying those words in my head. What secret? Who's threatening who? Why would Alex have something to hold over her? When I got home, I tried to act normal. But that night, I couldn't hold it in. I asked her flat out, who were you talking to last night? She looked caught off guard, but tried to play dumb. What do you mean? I heard you. On the phone. You said, if you tell him, I'll tell everyone your secret. Her face changed instantly. She went pale. Eyes wide. Lips parted like she wanted to lie, but nothing came out. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just looked at her and said, tell me what's going on. She sat down slowly, like her legs couldn't hold her up anymore. Then she started crying. At first it was soft. Then it got worse. Like, full-on sobbing. She kept saying she was sorry. I didn't know what she was apologizing for yet. Finally, she said, Alex and I, something happened. It wasn't supposed to. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I just stared at her. I couldn't speak. She said it started a few weeks after he moved here. They'd been texting a lot, reconnecting. One night he came over when I was working late. She said they drank too much wine, and one thing led to another. That was the only time, she said. But he started getting weird after that. Possessive. She said she tried to pull away, but he wouldn't let it go. He threatened her. Told her if she stopped talking to him, he'd tell me everything. Then he started hanging out more, showing up randomly, like he was proving he still had access to her life. Then came the bombshell. He knows something about me, she said. From years ago. Something I never told you. He said if I don't keep seeing him, if I cut him off, he'll tell everyone. She wouldn't tell me what the secret was. She just kept saying it would ruin her life. That he was holding it over her. that she felt trapped. And yeah, I was furious. At both of them. But hearing the fear in her voice, it wasn't fake. She looked genuinely terrified. I told her, "You're not dealing with this alone anymore. This ends now." The next morning, I made some calls. I started digging. Asked a few friends in tech to help me check into Alex's background. Sarah didn't know I was doing this, but I needed ammo. Turns out Alex has a pattern. He's been accused, never formally charged, but still, of manipulating women at his previous job. There were HR complaints. One woman even filed a restraining order, but it was dropped for insufficient evidence. The guy is a snake. So I set up a meeting. I texted Alex and told him I wanted to talk. Just the two of us. I picked a quiet cafe near the loop. Public enough to be safe, private enough to handle business. When I walked in, he was already there. He gave me this smug little smile. "Here to beg me to stop?" he asked. I sat down, opened my laptop, and looked him dead in the eye. "No, I'm here to show you what happens when you blackmail the wrong people." That's where I'll pause for now. I'm still processing everything. Still trying to figure out what comes next. But I'm not letting this guy destroy my wife. Or my life. He blinked. For a second, just 1 second, the smirk dropped from his face. "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" he asked, leaning back like he was trying to stay cool. I turned the laptop around slowly. On the screen was a folder titled Alex, full background. Inside, emails, screenshots of old social media posts, records from his previous jobs, even a couple of chat logs from forums I probably shouldn't have accessed, but did anyway. I had receipts. Not just about Sarah, but about other women. Patterns. Names. Dates. A whole trail of manipulation and threats, scattered across different states. His eyes darted to the screen. "This is illegal," he mumbled. "You're crazy." I leaned forward. "Maybe. But you won't be the first one I show this to. And you sure as hell won't be the last." He opened his mouth, then shut it. I could see his jaw clenching. His hands trembled just a little. Good. Then he tried to flip the script. "Look, I didn't mean for it to go this way. Sarah came onto me, man. She's been texting me for months. Ask her. I didn't even plan to sleep with her. It just happened." I stayed quiet. Let him talk. Let him dig his own grave. Then he said something I wasn't ready for. "You think I'm the only one she's been hiding secrets from?" I paused. "What does that mean?" He gave this tight, pitiful laugh. "You don't know her at all, do you?" I felt my stomach twist. "You're bluffing." "You sure?" he said, reaching into his coat pocket. "Because I've got copies too." He pulled out a flash drive, dropped it on the table. "What's on it?" I asked, not touching it. "Her secret. The one she's terrified of. The one she begged me not to ever mention." "You said that was from years ago." "It is. But you'd be surprised what kind of dirt sticks around online." I stared at it. My hand didn't move. I didn't want to know. But of course I had to know. I took the drive, shoved it into my pocket. "I'll deal with this my way." He leaned back and smiled again, like he'd just thrown a grenade in the room and was waiting for the blast. "Good luck, man," he said. "You think she's the victim, but you don't know what she's capable of." I left without another word. I didn't go straight home. I couldn't. My mind was racing. I sat in my car for an hour just staring at the dashboard. I wanted to believe Sarah was the victim, that Alex was just bluffing. But what if he wasn't? When I finally got home, she was waiting for me. Her eyes were red. She'd been crying. Again. I told him. She said the moment I walked in. I told him I was done. I don't care what he says. I can't keep living like this. I nodded. I met with him. Her eyes widened. What did he say? I pulled out the flash drive and held it up. She froze. Then something unexpected, she broke down. But not in the way I thought. Not guilt. Not fear. She looked relieved, like someone had cut her loose from a rope. "That's it," she whispered. "That's the thing I've been running from." "Sarah," I said, sitting down slowly. "What is it?" She looked me dead in the eyes. "When I was 19, I was arrested. Just once. Nobody really knows. Not even my parents. It was sealed. I was at a party that got raided. Drugs were involved. I wasn't even using, but I was holding something for someone. It was bad. They charged me. I was terrified. But I took a plea. Got probation. It was supposed to disappear. I sat there in silence. Alex found it," she said. "I don't know how. But he did. And he's been holding it over me ever since. Said he'd post it everywhere. Said he'd ruin my career." She teaches. Middle school. A record like that, if it went public, might get her fired. Even if it was ancient history. Even if she was a kid. And you never told me? I was ashamed. I didn't want you to see me differently. My hands were shaking. Not with anger, just too much emotion. Too many puzzle pieces slamming into place at once. I can handle a mistake, Sarah, I said. What I can't handle is you lying about it while some scumbag blackmails you. She nodded. I know. I'm so sorry. But then came another twist. Later that night, I opened the flash drive. There was a document about the arrest. It matched what she said. But there were other files too. Photos, emails, screenshots from a private messaging app dated before Alex moved to Chicago. Conversations between him and Sarah. Flirty, secretive, emotional. Not just one night. Not just a mistake. This went back months. There were plans. Private jokes. Messages like, if only we could go back to the old days. He doesn't understand me like you do. You make me feel alive again. When I'm with you, I remember who I used to be. My chest hurt. I shut the laptop. She hadn't just cheated. She'd been emotionally with him long before anything physical happened. I didn't confront her that night. I couldn't. I just told her I needed air, grabbed my keys, and walked. That was 2 hours ago. Now I'm sitting in a 24-hour diner, staring at cold coffee and wondering what the hell I'm supposed to do next. So I'm back. I said this wasn't over, and I meant it. That night at the diner, I stayed out until sunrise. Just sitting, thinking. I didn't even touch my coffee. I went over everything 100 times in my head. The late-night calls, the blackmail, the messages on that flash drive. I was trying to wrap my head around how the woman I'd spent 12 years with could hide something so big and for so long. By the time I went home, I had a plan. I wasn't going to let this spiral without getting the full picture. Sarah was asleep when I walked in, curled up on the couch like she'd passed out crying. I sat down beside her and watched her for a minute. I didn't recognize her anymore. She woke up a few minutes later, looked at me with puffy eyes. Did you read it? She asked. Yeah, I said. She braced herself, like she was expecting me to scream or walk out. I didn't do either. I just want the truth now. All of it. No more halfway stories. No more missing pieces. She nodded. Okay. That stopped me cold. What are you talking about? Mark, he said things. About your company. About deals you've worked on. Stuff I don't even understand. But he says if you come after him, he'll leak it. Said it could ruin you. Now that made me sit up. I work in logistics, yeah? But not the kind most people picture. The company I work for deals with government contracts. High security stuff. Nothing illegal, but definitely stuff that's supposed to stay out of public view. Procurement deals. International shipping routes. Sensitive timelines. I've signed NDAs that would make your head spin. So how the hell did Alex know anything about that? You told him about my job? I asked, voice rising. No, she said immediately. I never said anything detailed. I swear. Maybe I mentioned your project stress or travel stuff, but nothing serious. But then another thought hit me. A dark one. Could Alex have been using her from the start? What if this wasn't about some nostalgic high school crush? What if he targeted her? What if he moved here not just to manipulate her, but to get to me? That flash drive. Those screenshots. What if that wasn't blackmail? What if it was leverage? What if this guy wasn't just a creep, but a professional? I started connecting dots I hadn't noticed before. How he'd always ask innocent questions about my work hours, my travel schedule, my laptop habits. How he always seemed to know when I'd be home late or out of town. He'd always show up when Sarah was alone. I opened up my email and checked something that made my heart stop. 2 months ago, I clicked a link Sarah forwarded me. A funny video Alex had apparently shared. It led to a weird page that didn't load right. I didn't think twice. What if that wasn't a video? What if it was spyware? I looked back at Sarah. I think he was using you to get to me. Her face changed. She looked horrified. What? I think this was bigger than just cheating, I said slowly. I think Alex is involved in something else. And I think we've both been played. Then I remembered something even more chilling. When I first met Alex, he told me he was in sales. Never said what kind. When I asked again a few weeks later, he dodged. Said it was boring, just dealing with accounts. I didn't push. But now I started wondering, was Alex even his real name? I pulled out my phone, opened up a secure database search I had access to through work, typed in his full name, birth date, last known address. No records, no work history, no school transcripts, no tax records past 2018. It was like he just appeared. I looked up at Sarah. We've been set up. Her lip trembled. What are you saying? I think your childhood friend isn't who he says he is. And I think he's still watching us. After realizing what might really be going on, I couldn't sleep. I spent the next day at work doing background checks, digging through every file I had access to, checking if Alex, if that was even his real name, had ever been flagged in any way. And then something broke open. There was a report from 2019. A flagged foreign contractor, believed to be operating under a false identity, suspected of phishing and information gathering on U.S.-based personnel, targeted people in shipping, aerospace, military support chains. Never caught. The alias he used? Alex F. I swear, my stomach turned inside out. I stared at the screen, stunned. Sarah had been used. I had been used. This wasn't just an affair. This was surveillance. Blackmail. Real-world espionage crap I only ever heard about in security briefings. That night, I came home. I didn't say anything. I didn't even sit down. I walked in, stood in the middle of the living room, and said, I need you to listen. Don't interrupt me. She collapsed into the chair, cried harder than I'd ever seen anyone cry. It wasn't a show. It was raw, broken. Then came the knock. Loud, heavy, repeated. I opened the door, and there he was. Alex. Same smug look. Same too clean smile. Wearing a leather jacket and holding nothing but his phone. He stepped in without permission. You know, Mark, this could have been a lot easier if you just stayed out of it. I didn't say anything. I just stared at him. Sarah screamed at him. Get out. You used me. You lied to me. Alex didn't even flinch. You're too emotional, he told her. This was never about you. Then he turned to me. But you got a little too curious. I pulled out my phone and held it up. You've been reported. Every email, every message, every IP log. I don't care who you're working for, but I promise you this. Whatever your goal was, it ends here. His face changed. That confident, untouchable look cracked, just slightly. But enough. Then Sarah did something I didn't expect. She walked over and slapped him. Hard. The kind of slap that echoes. You ruined everything, she whispered. He sneered, wiped his lip, and said, No, you did that. And then he left. Just like that. Walked out the door. Disappeared down the hall. We didn't sleep that night. Or the night after. Over the next week, agents from my company came to investigate. They took my devices, interviewed Sarah separately. It was a mess. She had to resign from her teaching job voluntarily to avoid scandal. Even though she didn't do it on purpose, the blackmail and emotional affair were enough to make the school district nervous. Alex, if that was even his name, was gone. No trace. Vanished. Probably changed identities again. But the damage was done. Sarah tried to fix things between us. She apologized every day, wrote me letters, begged me to go to counseling. And I tried. I really did. But every time I looked at her, all I could see was him. In our home. At our table. Laughing on our couch. Reading over my shoulder. Sleeping with my wife while I worked late to give us a better life. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the trust. The safety. The us. Eventually, I moved out. Packed a bag and left. Told her I didn't hate her, but I couldn't be with her. Not now. Maybe not ever. She cried. Said she understood. Said she'd wait if I changed my mind. But I didn't. It's been 4 months. The investigations are over. I've been cleared. I kept my job. They say I handled it as well as anyone could have. But I still don't sleep much. I keep thinking about how it all unraveled. Not with a crash, but with little cracks. A message here. A late-night call there. A lie wrapped in a joke. And how easy it is to miss them when you trust someone. I haven't seen Sarah since I left. She messages me now and then. I don't always reply. I don't feel anger anymore. Just tired. She was lonely. Vulnerable. Looking for something she used to feel. I get that. But she let someone weaponize her, and that destroyed everything. As for Alex? Who knows? Maybe he's in another city now, spinning the same story. Targeting someone else. Maybe he really did love her in some twisted way. Or maybe she was just a means to an end. Either way, I'm done being the guy who didn't notice. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Don't assume the danger is always outside your home. Sometimes it's sitting on your couch, smiling, and asking how your day went.